Hi, this is Bob Samuels, founder of TechConnectr. TechConnectr is a transparent marketplace and campaign management platform of best-of-breed business-to-business lead generation solutions. We've partnered with the B2B Marketing Exchange to bring you wisdom from leading account-based marketing thought leaders. To that end, I would like to introduce you to Kane, Executive Director of Client Services at Brainrider, a B2B marketing agency with a strong focus on content creation and optimization. John, it's a pleasure to speak with you. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm excited to have a chance to chat with you.
I'm excited too, and I'm excited about the B2B MX event. Have you been before?
No, this is my first year. So, like my agency, Brainrider, we've had a pretty strong showing at the event in past years, and I've heard great things about it. So I'm super excited to see it firsthand next week.
Wonderful. I think you'll like it. It's great for learning things. Plus, it's a wonderful group of peers that go and share ideas and so forth. So it's one of my favorite events of the year.
Yeah, I've heard a lot from our clients that attend. The value for them is really the other practitioners they see there. So it's never too much of agencies or vendors preaching too much about their own stuff. It's very much practitioners sharing their experiences, which I always find the most valuable sessions have.
I agree. I agree. So if you can give our audience a little bit of your background.
Sure. So I'm Director of Client Services at an agency called Brainrider. It's a B2B digital marketing agency. And I've been there for just over 4 years. And I've been helping B2B clients of all variety of sizes from, startups all the way through to enterprise, really figure out a lot of ABM and digital marketing, specifically challenges, based on my background of, I was a content marketer for a number of years. I'm a computer science graduate that can code, so I understand websites pretty well. And I've got a good grounding in the marketing technology stack that a lot of people are wrestling with now as well. So I help clients figure out how best to navigate that connection of content and marketing technology, design and web to be able to meet their organizational goals.
Beautiful, beautiful. And where are you based out of, or where are you from that you got the lovely accent?
So I'm based in Toronto, Canada, right now, but I'm originally from Glasgow in Scotland. So I've got this hybrid accent that, if I had a couple of drinks in me, you wouldn't be able to understand what I was saying. So I'm a little bit Canadianized now.
All right. Well, I look forward to having a few drinks with you at the event next week.
Me too.
So your topic, you're going to be presenting or paneling?
I'm sorry, Bob. My speaker just cut out there.
Yes. At the event next week, will you be presenting or?
Yes, I am. So I'll be I'll have the pleasure of presenting with actually a long-term client of mine, Jessica Garrett. And we're going to be talking about how marketing leaders can be more effective this year. And it's really going to be dialing in on understanding the role that marketing leaders play within organizations and how to optimize what they're measuring in terms of aligning that with overall organizational objectives, and how to put together the right team to support those hitting those objectives, be it an internal team where you're building up headcount, or having a friendly agency partner like myself to come in and help as well.
Wonderful. So they'll be able to hear your perspective as well as the clients. And I think we were talking before how it's always nice to hear the clients or your practitioner's perspective on everything. So
exactly,
nice,
yeah. It's going to be my job at the event to really shut up and let Jessica talk. So that's that's my main goal, is to make Jessica look good, because she's done so much more and she's so much smarter than I am. So I'm just the pretty face. She's the real practitioner everyone wants.
Smart. Well, good. I look forward to it. So ABM, nice topic. You come it from the content and the strategy perspective. So it all needs to start from a good plan, I assume. So how do you start? What's the first thing you do as far as figuring out where to start?
So there's really two parts to sort of how I think about starting, and it really depends on the organization that we're working with. A lot of clients that I've worked with in the last couple of years in ABM programs don't know where to start from zero, right? They've got this idea that they want to try ABM, or they've heard at a conference somewhere, or they've read some content where it says that ABM can be a real difference maker, but they really don't know how to go from 0 to 1. So we've helped run a lot of pilots where we can do it at a small scale to be able to validate whether or not it's a type of program that would work well for their particular business or the particular audience. But then like once we get into the planning stages of the pilot itself, then there's the other part of how do we start in terms of who do we decide to start with. So there's often that initial conversation around the target account list is probably the most important conversation we have, where it's making sure that we're choosing the right audience to start with, where we're setting ourselves up for success. And that can be a point at which a lot of organizations trip up is not having the right target account list in place to be able to set themselves up for success, and trying to either do too much too soon, or focusing on, an audience where they either don't have the content to be able to reach them, or don't have the access to the audience to be able to get the right eyeballs on that content.
Right, and when you say we, who's involved in the process?
So generally speaking, when we're involved in sort of strategic consultation with clients, it's usually the marketing managers or the marketing directors we're in conversation with at this point. But whenever we're talking ABM, we want to bring sales into the conversation as much as possible. So usually when we're talking about doing a pilot, for example, we'll look to get senior leadership from the sales team and a single sales executive in the planning conversation, so that we can say, okay, let's target accounts that are the domain of this single sales executive. Because such a big part of ABM is breaking down that silo between sales and marketing and making sure they're working well together. And by sort of pinning it on a single salesperson while getting buy-in from the executive leadership, that really sets you up for success to really have that, day-to-day check-in, that constant relationship between sales and marketing, where you're more likely to be able to get the right insights to drive a successful campaign. Because sales knows the accounts better than marketing does. So that's really where the value add comes in, where if we can unlock the stuff that's in the salesperson's brain because they understand the accounts better, then we're going to be able to provide more customized and more relevant buyer journey.
Okay, that sounds good. And then it sounds like the program is driven by the marketing team with sales buy-in.
Yes, in most cases, yes. Ideally, you want it to be a true partnership from the beginning, where both sides of the organization are coming together and saying, "Let's try this." But most of the time, the way that the maturity of the organization moves is to start off with marketing being completely siloed and kind of doing its own thing, to moving towards a more marketing-led model where marketing is bringing sales along, to then finally get to a part where there's a true sales and marketing partnership. And you kind of have to go through that journey to get there. It's very hard to jump straight from a completely siloed model to true sales and marketing alignment.
Okay, that sounds good. So I'm a numbers guy, and content always fascinates me. It's really an art to try to create content that's going to speak well to the target audience and get them engaged. How do you go about doing that? You can't buy technology to kind of help. It's something that it has to be done.
No, and it comes from, so when Brainrider's thinking about this, we've got a few different models we use to help us. One is getting a clear definition of the ideal customer and really digging deep on what that ideal customer cares about and what pain points they're feeling that the products or services solves. So it's only by having that alignment with the customer pain points that we're actually then able to build out a campaign or some content that actually resonates. And you can get that information in a bunch of different ways, but we rely on sales usually to bring that kind of insight. So for example, if there's for one client we have, they sell to huge enterprise companies, and there's only 5 or 10 enterprise companies that they are looking to sell at any given year, but they have some good relationships within each of those organizations. That means they understand the problems that the enterprise organization's facing, or the initiatives that the leaders have underway in, like, at the moment. And we can leverage that specific information to be able to help create content or share content, or put together programs that speak directly to their problems and their pain points and their current experience, rather than being based on a persona which can be vague, or can be slightly different from organization to organization. The more insight we're able to get from sales or any other source about the true pain points that the audience is feeling, I think the more successful ABM campaigns tend to be.
And I think you mentioned that the content is specific for that particular client at that high level, the top 10 clients or top 10 prospects.
Yeah, and there's, like, in ABM, there's a lot of talk about personalization as an important factor. I'm probably alone in that. I'm not that crazy about the idea of personalization. I'm not sure that the value is there for most B2B organizations. Obviously, at a certain scale, I think personalization works, because even the smallest increase in response rates can have an outsized impact on revenue. But for the majority of B2B organizations, I think the search for personalization is a relatively futile one. Whereas if you could focus on relevance, I think that's a much stronger way to go. But to your point, if you are working with such a small target account list, then yeah, it's super easy to get really dialed in on individual organizations. But even if you have a higher number of target account lists, up to 100 or 50, there's going to be some consistent pain points that those organizations are feeling, that you can put together content that still resonates with them, that's still relevant, without it being super targeted to the individual organization.
Makes sense. And then there's different people within the organization with different perspectives. There's going to be a gatekeeper, maybe on the finance side or on the security side, that need to come through with different messaging. Maybe.
Exactly, yeah. And having visibility into what that buying group looks like, and the different influencers within that buying group, is super, super valuable. And again, that's information that working alone marketing isn't really going to have that much visibility into. But with the right relationship with sales, then that makes that much easier. Because then you can talk to sales about, okay, when you're dealing with, or when you're talking to the IT person that's part of this buying decision, what's the common objections, what's the common pain points they're feeling, and how can we arm you to be able to handle those conversations or handle those objections in a way that is actually going to get us better results.
Yeah, and when you say content, is this website? Is it display ads? Is it email? Is it telephone scripts?
The answer is yes. I think it's all of the above and more. I think everything is content if you look at it through a certain lens. And I think if there's an opportunity to get more strategic about any kind of communication that's getting in front of your target accounts, then I think any time spent optimizing that is worth it. So yeah, it can vary from arming the sales team with playbooks and scripts. It can be other sales enablement tools like sell sheets. It can be direct mail. Like I've seen a ton of organizations send target accounts books and plants and other sorts of physical objects through the mail as well, and all done in the right way. Then I think that can be valuable. Like sending a book through the mail is can be valuable, but a small example is I see it do much better when it's a relevant example of sending a book through the mail. So it's not just mass sending the same book to 10 different CEOs. It's actually going through that book and highlighting passages or adding post-it notes or, just doing something to show greater understanding of the pain point that the person's feeling and attaching it to that object and then being able to share it. It's having a deeper level of understanding about why you're sharing this asset or this object.
Beautiful. And there should be an overarching story that ties it all together, I assume.
Absolutely. Yes. And it should be a unified journey or a unified engagement where all the component pieces are harmonious and aligned with each other, rather than having one marketing communication go out or having one marketing message go out, and then once someone in that account gets further along the journey, having some sort of jarring different message being shared or a different way of communicating being shared. So that's why the sales and marketing alignment is super important there as well.
Yep, makes sense. So so what do you see as the future? What's coming up? What's changing in your world in a year from now and 5 years from now? How will things be changing with all the changes in technology and data and privacy rules and so forth and so on?
Yeah, it's such an exciting time to be part of the digital marketing world in B2B. I think you mentioned like compliance and data privacy, like the cookies going away is going to be the sort of major technological hurdle that people are going to have to solve for in the future, which I think is going to be a net positive in the long run for everyone involved, not just the consumers that are being sort of protected by some of this legislation. But I think the main thing is going to be around the tech stack specifically, is that the complexity continues to grow. Like the number of marketing technology platforms that people have is going to continue to grow. So I think that there's going to be a continuing shift to move towards platforms rather than individual technologies. So the likes of Salesforce, making strategic purchases, I think that's going to continue to try and get everyone on one platform. Like Microsoft having Dynamics and having various parts plug into that as part of a broader, IT investment, where if the IT team is moving to have all of their technology stack on Microsoft, then I can see Dynamics and other Microsoft marketing technologies become more popular. Same with Salesforce or Adobe, any of these big platforms. I can see them becoming more dominant. So part of the marketer's job is going to be continue to stay on top of that complexity, but also look to consolidate where they can. So it's going to be an interesting tension between those two ideas of having a specialist tool to be able to solve a specific problem, or having the platform where you get the benefits of having a unified platform across all of your different tool sets.
Very beautiful. Very, very well said. Excellent, John. It's a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for taking time, Bob. I look forward to seeing your B2B MX.
Excellent. It's a pleasure. Take care.